All right, fantastic. So welcome everyone. It's so nice to see you all here. I'm really excited to be co-hosting this session with Ali, who's from Women in Business, one of our partners in Ecom Connect. We love doing things and creating with Ali, and we have such a good topic today, which is, we're in the series of our Network with the Community, and we're going to be talking about the power of community building, and probably in a kind of a different way than you're used to hearing about community building. So we're going to be walking you through kind of some case studies and some examples, and hopefully kind of inspire you to go beyond, who you already know, what you already know, and really start to expand your network in a way that brings value to you and to people around you, globally and locally. So, Ali, is there anything you want to share before I get our slides going?
No, for the moment, all is good. It's really cool to see everybody, and hi from South Africa, and it's good to see some familiar names and faces. And let's go. Let's start talking our stories.
Sounds good. So let me open up our slides. I'm just going to see the best way so that you guys can see these slides and not my whole computer with my bajillion tabs open. Give me one second.
Just to explain to everybody on the call here in South Africa, we are experiencing power shortages in that our power supply system is severely compromised. So we have what we call load shedding, where entire communities get shut down, where there's no electricity supply, which plays havoc because it just means that the Wi-Fi towers don't get power. Everything just, so at the moment we having between 8 and 10 hours a day with no power, which is quite debilitating.
I mean, it's a whole day, really, 8 hours.
It is, and like I explained to you last night, I have battery backups for my Wi-Fi, which is fine, and that seems to always work, but for some reason it's not, so I've had to go to a dongle. And then in the stress of not being able to get online, I managed to lock myself out of my usual laptop, so I had to quickly borrow another one. So you know what, in the world of IT, it doesn't always go smoothly as the same as it doesn't in a usual face-to-face presentation in a conference facility. You always have your problems. So
right.
But you know what? A community is a community, and we do what we can under the circumstances. Yes. So thank you very much.
Yes, absolutely. All right, well, let's get started. So you let me know when you want me to switch slides, Ali.
Okay, I certainly will.
Yeah, Ali's going to be walking us through kind of a couple of case studies of things she's witnessed, around the power of community building. And then we're going to be walking through just some ideas and stuff like that we want to share with you around this topic. So I will let you kick this off, Ali.
Okay, thank you so much. And again, thank you everybody for giving up your time to be with us. And hopefully at the end, hopefully during the course of the conversation, please ask questions, feel free to offer opinions. If you have experienced something, please share it with us, because that after all is about the community. And we're talking about how you can build an authentic network based on what you contribute to a community, and that community can be a small community, it can be a big community. The big thing is that you are impacting, you are making a positive impact on someone or something or in a situation, and in so doing you are building your network. And when you build your network, that network impacts personally, but it also impacts on your business. So if you wouldn't mind just going to the next slide, please, Jennifer.
Oh, there we go.
So we're going to talk about a couple of things which impact on community, where when you participate in a a community, whether it be an entrepreneurial community, whether it be a nonprofit, whether it be voluntary, or just something that you do personally, there's a couple of things that come about and impact into that community. So collectively, there's wisdom that can be gained. We don't know everything. Even Google doesn't know everything. But in that collective community, in that interaction with people, with other organizations, with other individuals, with other businesses, there's wisdom that can be collectively shared. There's wisdom that can be collectively come up with. Research in academia is something that people do because they are trying to find answers. We're not going to find answers to everything, but collectively we can create wisdom. We can come up with solutions. And in the world that we find ourselves now, it's about coming up with solutions. As I experienced tonight with no Wi-Fi, lock myself out of my laptop. You have to sometimes just calm down and then come up with an idea. So with wisdom, we can share that. And in sharing becomes a collective asset that we have. And in a community, you tend to push your limits because you're finding situations where you may not have come across them before. And how do I solve this? If you are in business and like now with the load shedding, how do you keep your business going? You've reached your limit. You're in manufacturing. There is no power for you to continue manufacturing. So how do you carry on with your business? And if you are in a collective community, a network, you could perhaps use the wisdom of everybody else to try and problem solve. Okay, so we've got 8 hours of no power. What are we going to do with those 8 hours? Because we can't be productive. How are we going to adapt the situation that we're in? So your limits are pushed, but at the same time, you are problem solving. And in that community comes support and reinforcement, because you are learning from somebody else. The good old term brainstorming, you're thinking about problems, you're thinking about how can we solve something, how can we make it better, and in that comes the support from your fellow network, your fellow community, and the reinforcement that you are not alone. In today's business world, in today's communities, we sometimes feel a little bit alone because we're sitting in an environment where we may be working from home, and we're not seeing people face to face. And in that reinforcement of solving solutions, you realize that the positivity of having a community, whether it's real, whether it's virtual, it doesn't matter. There is that reinforcement. And from that, new ideas are created. You come up with inspiration. How often have you been in a situation where you're chatting to people and you go, oh, wow, why didn't I think of that before? Or, gee, that's a good idea. Let's investigate it. And those conversations, those communities where you are working with people, solving problems, sometimes the weirdest, wackiest, most outlandish idea ends up being the one that solves the problem. And with that comes the accountability. If I put this into practice, if I commit to my staff, to my community, to my own business, even to myself, comes the accountability. Am I going to carry that through? So all of these are things that we're going to touch on with the 3 stories that I'm going to tell you now of how people have created organizations, created businesses. Some are nonprofit and others are profitable, and how they have worked in a spirit of community and used all of these to make their own business or their organization better, but at the same time to make an impact. And you might think to yourself, well, I'm just one person. How can I make the difference? Let me show you these stories, because as one person, you can make a collective difference. So Jennifer, next slide.
Yeah, and before I go to the next slide, I just want to highlight something you said yesterday that was so powerful. And you might get into it a little bit later, but you were talking about, what happens when you the power of community is like you think bigger. Like all of these points that you're talking about right here bring you to think in a bigger way. And so you can start small, with small, simple actions, one step at a time. And this is where the community will really help you see, like, what is the next step that I can take, but when we are just on our own, in our own small minds, especially like when we talk about, pushing our limits and getting new ideas, I really love what you said about also like remembering that we're not alone, that there's other people experiencing this also. When we don't remember that, we're thinking really small and we're just like getting stuck with the problem and we're not looking outside of the box. So yeah, I just wanted to highlight that because I feel like it was such a good point.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Are there any questions from anybody or any comments that anybody would like to make at the moment?
You can pop them in the chat, or you can
Yeah.
raise your hand and let us know. Actually, anytime throughout our chat today, if you have something you want to share, you can just raise your hand or put it in the chat and we'll take a pause to answer.
Yeah, please do. I would really appreciate a conversation. I would really appreciate. All right. So the first story I'd like to tell you is about an organization in the tiny little town of Howick, in which I live. Now, Howick is in South Africa. We're sort of halfway between the beach and the mountains. And we're a smallish town. We're not a wealthy town. And we've had situations where, unfortunately, the service of our government has not been as good as it should have been. So our town got a little bit grubby, our town got a bit dirty. We have a lot of street children. We have people who are unemployed. And we also have a very, very large elderly community and who have retired from corporate, and they've come to live in Howick because they felt that it was a beautiful town. And slowly and surely the town eroded to a stage where it became very apparent that the services provided by the government were not going to happen. And a group of us got together and we thought, how are we going to make this better? Because we can't continue saying it's the government's problem. Because what was happening was that businesses were failing. There was more and more unemployment. It was not safe for children to go to school. It was not safe for people to be in the streets at night. And we just decided that it wasn't a place that we wanted to say that we came from. We wanted to restore our little town. And we came up with a logo called Love Howick. And we have now, through the interaction of the community of Howick, Love Howick has become a brand. And what did we do? The businesses got together and we chatted and we said, how can we restore pride in our town? Because one, our businesses are suffering. Two, our children are suffering. Three, our future is suffering. And we have a lot of places in Howick which are beautiful places for tourism. And we started slowly and surely with building up the pride by the word Love Howick. And what we did is we put red t-shirts on to everybody, and we said to them, right, volunteer and let's start cleaning up our town. And we got sponsorship. We made these bright red t-shirts. There's the Facebook link there and also the website link. Please go and have a look. You can imagine just this team of red t-shirts in the town, sweeping, cleaning, gathering rubbish, and it was done on a regular basis. So for every Saturday morning, for about 2 or 3 months, there would be this mass of people in red t-shirts. And eventually it became where people were starting to come and say, I see you every Saturday. Is there anything I can do? Is there something that I can do? Even the elderly population who are retired started to say, can we help? The businesses then cottoned onto this idea, and they realized that if they put up a banner and said, this is Howick Building Supply, and we are cleaning up this area, there was branding, there was advertising. So now all of a sudden, people who were driving past and seeing all these red t-shirts were also seeing banners or a little trailer that had this huge big logo of the Howick Building Supply or of the local stationery shop. Howick Tourism had a big banner. And it then transformed into, not only were we making a difference to our town, we were cleaning our town, there was a platform for people to market their business, because now they were very, very visual. And in that whole transformation of cleaning the town, making the town look better, having a platform where businesses could market, everybody was on the same level. We had brooms, we had rubbish bin bags, we had gloves, and it didn't matter whether you were a pensioner, whether you were a school child, whether you were a business owner, or whether you came from a corporate. We were all on the same level, and it gave us a platform where we could talk to one another. And I met more people through cleaning up Howick and through the Love Howick environment than I had in the 10 years that I've lived here. So uniquely, that whole spirit of community had an impact, not just on cleaning up the town, but it gave businesses a place where they could market themselves. They could make a platform where businesses could make themselves very visual, where people could network and say, you know, I'm a builder and I've been having problems. I've been trying to get my bricks and we're just not getting the bricks because there's been accidents on the freeway, and there's all sorts of things that are happening in South Africa at the moment. And through that networking, people have created relationships, partnerships have been developed, and businesses being done with people that you may not have met, or we might not have met before. And in that, the whole Love Howick concept has now taken on a whole new dimension where we have expanded, and we've expanded into a community nearby called Nottingham Road. And we now have Love Notties. And we've also expanded into an area where in South Africa we call them townships, where people in the apartheid era were moved so that they could live outside of the so-called towns areas. And we now have Love and Popameni. And we had the other day, about 2 weeks ago, we had a Love Cities where Nottingham Road, Howick, and Popameni all got together and we worked together. So today we worked in Howick, the following day we worked in Popameni, and then the following day we worked in Nottingham Road. And there was just this enormous sense of community, and people who would never have maybe met before, never have done business together before, never had an opportunity to even have a conversation before. Even the mayor of Howick was in his overalls, in gumboots, with a black plastic bag, picking up garbage. So people who would possibly never have been able to meet municipal and political people were now standing in the road with a broom, having a conversation with somebody that would never have been available to them before. And this takes us back to our community system, where the wisdom of a couple of ideas where people have come up with, let's try something. Let's do this. And through a little brand called Love Howick, a whole concept has been born. And do yourself a favor when you've got a chance, even while we're talking now, go onto the Love Howick website and see the difference that has been made to a town and to towns, because there's now 3 towns that are involved. There are 3 places that are involved, 3 communities that are involved, areas where businesses that were battling before have now suddenly been transformed because they have been able to network. They've been able to link with people that they previously would not have linked with. So it's a really good story, and it's a positive story, and it's something that is actually happening and it's growing. And we recently celebrated the 6th birthday of the concept of Love Howick. And we celebrated the things that we have done where the people of Howick are suddenly now very proud of their community. So I encourage you, in wherever you live, to look at what is in your community and how can you benefit by adding value, by offering your time, by offering your knowledge, by offering skills that you have, that the wisdom that you have, knowledge that you have, because it's not about just one person making that difference. It's the collective, everybody getting together and working together as a collective. So that's the one story that I have to tell. And I don't know if anybody would like to make a comment or ask any questions about the Love Howick community.
I want to highlight a few things while we're waiting to see. Okay, we have some hands up. So one of the things I wanted to highlight is how this initiative, when community coming together, allowed people or helped people step into their leadership, right? And as business owners, we are all leaders, and we don't always step into our leadership. We tend to sometimes just sit with what's not working and not get up and just make the change that we want to see happen, right? So like you were saying, instead of waiting on the government, you guys just got together and created the change that you wanted to see. And so I think that when we're in community, it elevates us and we step into our leadership. And the other thing that I love that you said is like how someone's skills can come help somebody else. And this is where, like, I really believe that success is created through collaboration. I don't think any business owner creates success on their own. And when you start to really use community as you move forward on your journey, other people, your skills are going to come complement other people's, and other people's are going to come complement yours, which is going to allow you to keep kind of elevating and moving forward.
Absolutely.
Maheshwar, go ahead.
Ali, thanks for sharing this powerful story. I'm glad to hear this story. You see, the story is very informative, and it's related to the theme what you share. The problem is for everyone. How the people has look at the problem is very important. I'm really amazed that the people of Howick has voluntarily come up for the social problem everybody is facing, and they have collectively done what they need to be done as a citizen of Howick. I really appreciate. And coming to the organization part and the community part, so there is a lot of takes from this story. So as a individual here, you have a problem, okay, and you don't have means your thought of process is completely different, and the other person thought process is completely different. If you share that problem, some person can help you out with the solution. So here everybody is collectively sharing their what do you say opinion with related to the problem, so that the end of the day we are solving the problem. That is most important. Where I see this solution from this story. So I really appreciate. Thanks for sharing this story, Ali.
Thank you. And just, what I'd also like to just offer is that with those bright red t-shirts and Love Howick, just the positivity of the word love. We had the the street, the people that live on the street, they would come and they'd say, can we help? And what we did is we said yes, with absolute pleasure. And we exchanged food vouchers for them helping us. So it wasn't as if we were giving handouts. We were saying to them, we understand that you are living on the streets, that you've got nothing other than your time and energy to offer. So can we in some way help you? And the shops came on board, well, the supermarkets came on board, and they offered us food vouchers for the homeless. And some of those homeless people have now moved on where they've become employed by some of the businesses that we're helping to clean. So it really is a lovely feel-good story. So thank you very much. There was another hand. I don't know. I don't see it anymore.
Yeah, it was, hang on a second. Yes, go ahead.
There we
It's
go.
Divya, I think.
Yes. Hi.
Divya. Go ahead, Divya. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh my goodness, I'm moving the slides. When I click, okay.
Divya.
Yeah,
You
Divya.
should unmute yourself. DB, you should unmute yourself. Yeah.
There we go.
Divya,
we can't hear.
agricultural helpline. Do you want to
Yes, we
share
can't.
something? We can't hear you.
I think there is some network issue there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perhaps type in the chat box if you wouldn't mind, and I'm very happy to answer the question.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
All right.
Okay, there we go.
Okay.
Now we're on the right side.
All right. So this is also another feel-good story, and I think that feel-good stories need to be told, because we live in a world where the media tend to sell the dramatic, and with the dramatic, there is always a good story that can be told. And you might know the Gift of the Givers Foundation. It is a foundation that is started in South Africa, also in a small town called Pietermaritzburg. And the Gift of the Givers works internationally. And they were started by a doctor, a medical doctor, who him and his wife decided that when there was a drama, when there was a trauma, when there was a natural disaster, it took governments a long time. Sorry, can I just stop for 2 seconds, because the question has come up on the chat. What motivated you to form Love Howick? The motivation was the fact that our little town was dying. Our town was being strangled by unemployment, unequitable opportunities, and all our natural resources were being abused. So that's what motivated us. All right, so back to the Gift of the Givers. So Dr. Suleiman Molitaz, him and his wife, they saw the trauma that was going on in the world, and the fact that it took far too long for governments to react when there was a disaster, when there was a war zone, when there was kidnapping. You may remember that a few years ago, there were a whole lot of girls that were kidnapped. And when there's disasters in war zones, it takes a long time for governments to react. And the Gift of the Givers Foundations was started by serving the South Africans when we had disasters. And a community got together. They started off with a carriage, a railway carriage, where doctors, medical doctors, would offer their services for free to the community. And when there was a disaster, that carriage was then transported to the closest point where the disaster was. And as we know, in the world today, there are just so many disasters that go on. And the Gift of the Givers Foundation has grown astronomically. As you can see at the bottom of your screen, 4.5 billion Rand in aid has been gathered. They have served disasters in 45 countries in the 30 years that they have been in existence. And it started off with one man and his wife sitting in their kitchen saying, what can we do to make a difference to the people around us? And again, it started off with him and his wife volunteering their services. Their friends then came on board and said, can we help you? Somebody else came on board and said, we can help. The trucking companies came on board and said, look, we will move medical supplies from this place where all the medical supplies are to where the disaster zone is. It has grown so big now that the Gift of the Givers Foundation has got to the stage where they negotiate with governments, and they've helped to release people that have been kidnapped. They've helped with organization. They've helped with governments where governments haven't been able to do anything because politically there's been they just can't come to an agreement. So Gift of the Givers have come in as a neutral party, and they have helped. And they are the largest disaster response non-government organization, starting here in South Africa, in Africa. And it all started off with, as I said, a man and his wife sitting in their kitchen wanting to make a difference to their life. And what has happened now is that the Gift of the Givers has grown so exponentially, as you can see. I mean, 4.5 billion in aid is no drop in the ocean. That's a huge amount of money. And it's taken a community to build that. And from a purely voluntary organization, it has now grown into a foundation where they employ people. So volunteers that used to just give of their time have now been employed. People are learning skills with this volunteering that's going on, with the employment that has been created. Businesses have come on board and they've said, look, we will help you. And with the help that they are offering, they are then getting networking opportunities because they are meeting potential clients through the volunteering they're doing or through the offering of services. And what often happens is that, for instance, let's say an organization that is involved with logistics. So they will move the trauma units that are needed, the food that is needed, the aid that is needed. They will move it from, let's say, from South Africa, where the warehouses are, to Uganda, where the trauma is. And in that moving, people are seeing the name, the branding of that logistics company. And somebody goes and says, oh, I need transport. That name has then been imprinted on them and their businesses can expand. So even though this is a trauma kind of organization where really bad things happen, where when there's floods, we had floods in South Africa at the beginning of the year, and entire communities were washed into the sea. And there's disastrous pictures that you can see on Google of whole landslides and just houses just being washed into the sea. And again, government took far too long to step in. People were hungry, people were sick, people were injured. Within 24 hours, Gift of the Givers had already set up tents, they had set up soup kitchens, they had set up medical facilities, purely because they had the infrastructure. And that infrastructure has developed over 30 years. So it's not something that's just happened. But over the last 30 years, Gift of the Givers have managed to create a sense of community, and people have joined them, organizations have joined them, and depending on the disaster, depending on what the problem is, will depend on who they call on. They have an incredible network, and they are now in a situation where they are able to pay for services that they need if they cannot find it in a voluntary capacity. And the whole organization has grown into an international organization. So once again, the community that started very small over the 30 years has expanded into this organization that serves communities internationally and together with them. And if you go to their website, you will see the various companies, the various organizations, the various individuals who have been involved. And they have met incredible people, incredible ideas have come out of it. So just as an example, when we had our floods in South Africa at the beginning of 2022, Dr. Suleiman, he picked up the phone and he spoke to the president of South Africa and he said, "You are doing nothing. We are going to do something." And they stepped in, the gift of the givers stepped in. Now, in how many situations are you able to phone the president of a country and say, "You're useless, you're not doing anything, we are going to do it"? And that sense of community has come from people getting together one by one, adding together and creating an organization called the Gift of the Givers. And again, I encourage you to go to their website. I encourage you to have a look at what they're doing, because something might spark in your head that you have in your own community, or you have in your own where you live, your own country, where you could get a group of people together and start and work on it. But please just remember the examples that I'm giving you are good stories that have happened over years. Love Howick is 6 years old. Gift of the Givers is 30 years old. So it's not something that started at small, but the idea was there. There was that big idea. And as Jennifer said earlier on, it started off with one person, two people, and it's grown. But the idea was a big idea. And it is achievable with people putting ideas together. So they called on the wisdom, they called on the accountability of people, they called on all these things that we spoke about earlier on, and created this community of giving. Again, any comments? Yes, Elid.
Eliud, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ali, for just sharing that. I mean, the two stories are really powerful. My name is Eliud. I'm from Nairobi, Kenya. And wow, I mean, the stories are really powerful. I also like the points you made on just the power of community and what it can actually create for people. Well, I have a question, and I mean, coming from this side of East Africa, the story may be different. So naturally, the kind of people I exist in, I've had trouble actually creating communities. I really believe in the power of community, and I would like to create as many as I can and plug into some that I can. But it has been very difficult here in Nairobi. And one of the reasons is it's very hard to find like-minded people in the spaces I exist in. And so most of the time, yes, we want something, you know, we all want success in the different spaces, but that like-mindedness is missing. And so what we get to see most of the time is competition. And so everyone is about, you know, winning, and of course, and the other one losing. So my question is, in that kind of a situation, how would you go about to create a community that can unlock value for, you know, all members? Thank you.
Yes, look, we've been highlighting the successes. There have been some disasters. Just from my own perspective of what my involvement with Love Howick, where we have had entrepreneurial training sessions where we have set up training for prospective entrepreneurs, where we've taken them through the process and we've helped them, and they have been taken over by somebody who saw the idea and saw what they thought was a business opportunity, and then they took it over, and it sort of became antagonistic. It is something that happens, and it's not something that we can hide, because yes, it does happen. What we've done is we've tried to keep the, like, for instance, the love Howick pride in it, where we've said, that's fine, you can carry on with your own plan if you wish to, but we are going to continue doing ours, where we are proud of our town. And it's not just about making the money, it's about making a difference. And if we can make a difference, and also at the same time encourage entrepreneurship where our businesses can be expanded, that's what we're going to do. So we didn't fight it. We agreed to disagree, and we also agreed that their concepts would not work with the way we felt and what our ethos was. So we then asked for further volunteers, and with being very visible, with being very present, and Tuli, I'll come to you in a minute, and the same with the gift of the givers. They've also had this where there's been interference. People have tried to fraudulently say that they are operating from the gift of the givers and take money that should have gone to gift of the givers. There's always those horrible people who try and hijack a good idea. What we've done is we've tried to make sure that our brand, our Love Howick brand, the gift of the givers brand, is ethical, is accountable, and offers the service that they say that they offer. And yes, like-minded people are going to be difficult, and it's not going to be easy. You might find somebody who's like-minded as you are, and just the two of you work together for maybe a year or two before the seed starts growing. It's like when you plant a tree, it takes a long time to germinate. It takes a long time for that tree to get big enough to offer the shade that it was meant for. So don't think that what I'm saying is something that's going to happen overnight. Unfortunately, it doesn't. But you do need to make yourself highly visible. You do need to make people aware of what you are doing. And that is why with the Love Howick, with the bright red t-shirts, it worked so well. And Jennifer, if you can just go to the gift of the givers, you will see that they all wear green. So the branding of the organization carries the integrity. And yes, you will get people who will hijack it. You will get people who will try and make a mess of it. But what you've got to do is retain your own dignity. It's like being in business. Your brand is what you are selling. Your brand is your integrity. Your brand is what you are offering your customer. And your customer will eventually see through the person who is not being honest. I hope that kind of like answers your question.
I want to add something to that before we move on to the next question. Based on what we were talking about in our pre-chat yesterday, Ali, and it's relevant to the gift of the giver. So we were talking about think big, start small, right? So the first thing I want to highlight is you were talking yesterday to like never be afraid of an idea.
No.
Right. So like honor your ideas. Don't be afraid of them. The reason why we often don't take action on our ideas is because we are thinking small, and then we're trying to take big actions from the start instead of, thinking big and then starting with just like small steps. And the other thing I want to highlight is what we were talking about yesterday, the living room strategy, which is exactly what they did. They started in their kitchen, just the two of them. So a community can literally start with just you and one other person, and then bringing in just one other person. So sometimes we tend to think that like something is not worth doing or not successful until it's big or until it has like thousands of people in it. And we forget about the power of starting really small with a core group of people who truly believe in the same thing that we do. And then that passion and that dedication will allow the thing to grow from there afterwards.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tuli, you have a question?
Tuli.
I do, Ali. You really touched me today. The stories you told are just like so brilliant. So I'm currently based in Cape Town, but I was working in Pietermaritzburg for Mgeni for 5 years in the early 2000s. And I had no idea that you guys have done such a wonderful job, especially in the Howick area. The question that I have is, and gift of the givers, by the way, I was telling my husband during the floods that if they were to come up for us to vote for them as part of government, I'll definitely vote for them. So I mean, the work they do, it usually just touches my heart, and the dedication and everything else that they do. So my question is, if I look at the two examples that you have, and I'm assuming when you started the story in Howick, you started it as an NGO, and say similar to how the gift of the givers works. Now, if I run a business and the people that I want to form as part of the community are professionals, and I'm just trying to look at this, like I say, that the stories you had, it's nice because it's people volunteering their time, but I love also the story of having the branding and then having the sticker in the shops and things like that, so that people can see that this small business is also part of the bigger picture. Now, my platform is for professional beauticians and hairstylists, where I'm looking at a bigger picture of forming the community, but then also going through the verification and vetting process of the people that we work with. With your experience, do you think that it will work if it's not working as an NGO or an NPO and starting as a for-profit organization? And if that's the case, what advice would you have in forming a community like that?
You know what, there's nothing wrong with making money out of helping other people. Accountants, they offer a service. Lawyers offer a service. There is nothing wrong with creating money by offering a service to a community. So in the beauticians, in the hairdressers, you guys are offering a wonderful service. And to be quite honest, there's nothing better than going and having your hair and nails done. Sorry, guys, but having your hair and nails done. But even with the guys, if you're going to have your hair done, you feel good. It's a really feel good thing. And again, just a little story of somebody that I know and personally involved with. As you can see, my hair is different colors. One, because I don't like being gray, and also because it's part of my branding. But the hairdresser who does my hair, they are a very professional, very vibrant, very proactive and business, and they're making money. They are making money. One, because they have expanded their business whereby they don't look at one particular community. They have expanded their business where they have a variety of staff members across many different cultures, and they do the hair of every single culture that we have in South Africa. And you from South Africa, you know, we've got lots of different cultures, and they will offer hair opportunities for every single culture in South Africa. In addition to that, every single one of their trainees once a month has to give up a day, and they go to an old age home or they go to a children's home, and those trainees offer a full day where they cut the hair of the old person, or they cut the hair of the young children at the home, so that they make them feel better. They have a nice little haircut. They the trainees, who, because they also offer a little beautician's add to their business, and the trainees do the nails of the elderly ladies, and the gentlemen, obviously, they give them hand massages, and every single trainee, one day a month, they take them to a home, to an old age home or whatever. And it's created a community whereby people who have retired from the hairdressing fraternity or have retired from being beauticians are now offering, they're coming in, they're saying, please, can we help you when you go to the old age home? Or please, can we help you when you go to the children's home? And what they're doing is that they've drawn in now from the community around them. And even some of their customers are saying, do you know what? I'll pay for the transport if you need to go somewhere, or I'll pay for the trainee to go and help this particular old age home because I know that they don't get anything. And it's just grown from a hair salon that is making money, and they've created a community whereby they are giving back. And the trainees, let's face it, those trainees, what better training have they got to learn social skills when you're dealing with elderly people who can't hear, have got Alzheimer's, have perhaps are in an old age home where they're not particularly well looked after, maybe that, you know, their hair doesn't get washed very often. Those trainees are learning social skills that they wouldn't have if they were purely in the salon, learning in the salon. So Julie, yes, I think your idea is awesome. Go for it. You're an entrepreneur. Use your entrepreneurial spirit. Make your money. Never, ever, ever doubt your own value. But at the same time, you can still offer back to the community in your own small way. And never doubt that even if it's something small, you are making a difference. We can't all be gift of the givers with 4.5 billion rand. We can't all be that. But you can be Thuli, who makes a difference to somebody at the end of the day who thinks, wow, thank you, Thuli. That was really cool.
Thank you, Ali. I need to connect with you offline. Arania, you've just blown me away. Thank you very much.
Pleasure. Well, thank you. Thank you. Any other questions?
I was just thinking, Ali, you need to be like a professional speaker or something. You're just so good at this. I love it.
All right, let's go to our third and last story. All right, and this story is sure, this has been an incredible journey of just absolute determination. This is one lady, and Thuli, this is maybe where you might also be able to relate to the story, where this lady, Lucretia Polton, she is an Indian lady. She has a skin where the blemishes, she has the white on her skin and on some places on her face. And she has had to face quite a lot of people who have, in a way, thought that there's something wrong with her. So people are sort of scared to interact with her. And she just eventually got the hell in, and she just decided, you know what? I go for interviews. People think that there's something weird, there's something strange about me, there's something spiritually not right with me. I'm going to start my own business. And she has a passion for driving. She loves driving and seeing places in our country. And we've got some beautiful places to see in our country. And in her driving and in her seeing what's happening in the country, she came across a lot of crafters who are making the most incredibly beautiful crafts, but often they are not offered the true value of the skills that they've got. They're not offered financially the rewards that they deserve for the amount of time and effort that they've put in. And we all know artists are people who have skills, and those skills don't just happen. It's something that they have to work on. You can't make beadwork bags unless you've practiced. You can't make bird feeders unless you've practiced. So if you have a look at those pictures of the Afri crafters, you'll see sorry, you'll just need to go back one slide, please, Jennifer.
I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm not even clicking and it changes on its own. So weird. Sorry about that.
And what Lucretia did was, in her travels, she started to form friendships. She started to form relationships with the crafters that she was meeting on the side of the road, in towns, in places that she was visiting. And she came up with this idea, and she just thought, why can't we take what those crafters are doing in our country and sell it overseas and make real money for these crafters? And what really annoyed her, and I hear her story so clearly, is that people would go to these crafters and the crafter would say, no, let's say, for instance, that handbag is 250 Rand. And people would say, oh no, I've only got 200 Rand, I'll give you 200 Rand. And that annoyed her. And she felt that even at 250 Rand, those beads, the amount of time, the amount of effort that it took, those handbags were worth more, let's say, than the 250 Rand that the crafter was asking. And she came to an agreement with them where she would take their art, take their crafts, take whatever they're doing. She put it into a container, and her first container went over to Australia. That container was full of crafts. She has now, since prior to COVID, she has now sent over 20 containers full of South African arts and crafts to various places in the world. And all of these crafters, she has sat with them. She's worked out with them, what is the cost of the material? What is the value of their time? And truly, this is where I said to you, the value of your time. She has sat with them and said to them, all right, it takes you how long to make that handbag, or how long to make that bird feeder, or how long to whatever it is that they have made to do that painting. And they've put a value on it. And she said, right now you need a profit on top of that, because you've got to feed your family. You've got to pay for the electricity in your home when we have electricity in South Africa. You've got to pay for your transport to go and buy those beads, or to go and buy the raw materials that you need. So she has worked with these crafters in extremely rural areas. She's had to take on a translator who travels with her so that they can translate. And she's now met people in various provinces where she says, all right, I'm going to this province and this is the language that they speak. So therefore I need a translator who can talk that language. And she gets all these crafts together. She has now established a large shop at Shaka Marine World in Durban, which is one of the big harbor cities in South Africa. And Shaka Marine World is a beautiful place where a lot of tourists come to look at the marine animals of Southern Africa. She's got a shop there where her crafts are displayed. She employs the crafters in her shop, so they are her salespeople in the shop, and each crafter is able to tell their story. And when the crafts are put in the containers and go overseas, or when the crafts are in her shop at Shaka Marine World in Durban, every single one of them has a little card on it with a story about the crafter, where they came from, what they do, how they've learned to do it. So there's a story attached to every single item. And let me tell you, during COVID, when the whole world stopped, these crafters suddenly had no more income, because those containers couldn't go overseas. There were no tourists. There was no market for it, because arts and crafts are not essential products. Lucretia bonded her home, so that she was able to continue paying her crafters for what they did. And as soon as we opened up again, and she was able to then send out all her crafts overseas and open up her shop again at Shaka Marine World, she was then able to recoup and pay back her bond. Again, she wasn't afraid of being an entrepreneur. She wasn't afraid of the fact that she was taking crafts and skills of people, using the wisdom and the knowledge of people, and using it for her own benefit. Yes, using it for her own benefit. She was selling crafts that were made by South Africans. But at the same time, she built a spirit of community. She has a network now throughout South Africa of crafters who are able to sell their crafts through her. They know that she is also making money out of it, but they are also getting their money. So it's that whole process where you have your primary industry, your secondary industry, and your final industry, where that chain of sale is happening. And the crafter is in the middle, because the crafter is having to buy the beads, the crafter is having to buy the products, the clay that they need, or the wire that they need. And there's a whole community of now that has been formed, where because the crafters are selling their product, they are buying more beads. Because they're selling their products, they're buying more wire. Because they're selling their products, they're buying more paints. And it's a win-win situation. Again, to answer the question that came up earlier on, it hasn't been an easy road. Lucretia has come across some people who have been fraudulent. She has come across people who have tried to deviate from what she's been doing, and cause problems for her. But again, she has stuck to her brand, her AfriCrafters, crafts that come from Africa. She has kept her integrity. She has kept her word with her crafters. And when things have really been difficult, like during COVID, her crafters carried on and they supported her. And now that the world is open again, they are back supplying her. They've had offers from other people. Let me buy your products, I'll pay you more. And what they've said is, no, I will stick to Lucretia because she looked after me when times were bad. And this is one lady on her own who's done this. So again, the community is Lucretia, the one person, but she has spread her network, and she's been able to form a network of crafters throughout Southern Africa. And she is able to then pass on those very incredible creations of theirs to the rest of the world and to sell out there to the world. And the crafters are getting value for their money, and Lucretia's making money. So again, another heartwarming story. Yes, it has had tears and drama, but it's a heartwarming story because she's stuck to it and she's kept to her vision of being able to help crafters and create her own business.
I want to share, Nasreen just posted in the chat. She said, these success stories you are sharing are so motivating and inspiring. I'm already getting ideas that I would like to take ahead in my country, Bangladesh. Yay!
Yay! That's exactly, you see what we're doing. We're sharing. It's
Yeah.
a spirit of community. We are sharing. Yes.
Yeah, I agree. These stories are so inspiring, and it really helps us to see what is possible. And like you said, you know, like this lady for AfriCrafters, she was one person who had an idea, and probably if she would have let her brain make her believe that her idea was completely ridiculous, she wouldn't have done anything. And she was able to create this amazing brand because of the community that she collaborated with. So yeah, really, really.
Yeah, and I'd just like to also point out that
hello,
AfriCrafters.
can I say a
sorry.
few words? Hi,
Yes, sure.
I'm Nasreen Sultan. I just put that comment in the comment box. I'm from Bangladesh. And just a small story that I like to say. It's not a story, which is already I'm working with a small community of women, grassroots level women who do very beautiful embroidery work, which is very much unique to Bangladesh. So as I'm working, making silk scarves, I'm actually transferring getting those community of women to actually do their embroidery in my scarves. And by that, I'm supporting them. And 2 months back, I went to visit them, and one of the girls came up and say, "Well, from the the work that you're giving us, I've managed to buy this small gold bangle," and she was so happy about it. So it really warmed my heart. This is small thing, and what I'm hearing today is actually elevating my interest more, and I like to go through other remote areas of Bangladesh and try to see what I can do with other entrepreneurs. Thanks.
Absolutely. And thank you for what you are doing. And there's a
Thank you.
typical example of how you've taken something and you adding value to it. And at the same time, you are making somebody else's life
Yeah.
better, not just your own, but somebody else's. And at the end of the
Absolutely.
day, you can go to sleep and knowing that, yes, you've made your money, but you've also helped somebody else make their money.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. Thank
Well
you.
done, Nazreen. Well done.
Yeah.
It's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Just something I wanted to point out is AfriCrafters, she didn't have the money to set up the website and keep the website going. So she only uses Facebook. So there's another little snippet of information that as much as websites are very useful, don't waste your resources on a website if you can rather use your resources to make your business better. And when your business is big enough that you can spend those thousands of rands that it costs to set up your website, then set up your website. But this lady only has her Facebook page at the moment. She did have a website, but it was costly. So she gave it up and now focuses using Facebook for her marketing. So those are my 3 feel-good stories. I've got lots more that I could share with you, but I just thought that those were the 3 where you could see that it involves a community in a town or a city. It involves something that has grown internationally, and it's also something that started as a one-woman thing. So it's not impossible for your community. It's very important for your network. You learn from so many people, you become wise, and the person that you meet today, sweeping the street, helping them to eat or in a soup kitchen because there's been a natural disaster, or somebody that you meet on the side of the road, you never know where that meeting is going to take you. I mean, like I met Ecom Connect through having coffee with somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is the theme of Ecom Connect, or our focus this year is partnerships. Like we really felt that like this is where we're going to start to make a bigger impact and start to also like bring our different expertises together, is like by collaborating together. It's like bringing community together in different ways. And it's been such an amazing year with these partnerships and collaborations that we've created. So yeah.
And then I've just got to the last slide. So if my personal mantra, and Coco Chanel is the person who came up with it originally, is that well-behaved women seldom make history. Right. When I eventually leave this earth, I don't want people to remember me as being the goody two-shoes. I want them to remember me being that out of there, very different, non-conformist person, because my power and my strength has come from my community that I interact with, that I network with. So thank you for the conversation.
Thank you, Ali. It's been so, honestly, such an inspiring session. I see Iluit has another comment or question. Go ahead.
Oh. Yeah, no, quick one. It's just a comment. I mean, thank you. I just wanted to say a big thank you to Ali for just sharing the 3 stories. I'm particularly inspired by the stories so much. When I came into the conversation, and if you picked from the question I asked, I was very pessimistic about the whole conversation of community. Though I knew the value of it, but I was just like, yeah, I know I can't get that done. But I think from the stories you've shared, one thing I've picked is it only starts with one person. And then that one person creates the movement, then you get followers, and that's how the change is made. And so instead of having to wait and complain about some of the pessimism that exists in my community, I'm feeling I can start the change and start the movement and hopefully cause the change at the end of the day. So thank you so much for inspiring me. I appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. And please don't ever think that whatever idea you've got is a silly idea, because there's no such thing as a silly idea. Absolutely. No.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to stay for a few more minutes, and if anyone else has questions, I'm just going to launch a quick poll that helps us just get information about how you like the session and what you want in our future sessions, because I always forget. I just launched it. You should see a little screen pop up and we can keep talking. Nayla, go ahead. I see your hand is up.
Yes, thank you so much, Ali, for this inspiring stories. I really appreciate. And I had a small comments concerning the last story of the woman. I think that the woman in the value chain language is called as a business champion. But she is a different business champion. She is a sustainable one, because when she does business based on the interest of the community and based on doing impact, this really increases the trust within the actors who are working together, and also make the business sustainable, which is something very important in the development of the vulnerable communities. So this is again a story of we can have impact and profit in the same time. Thank you so much,
Absolutely.
Ali, for this.
Absolutely.
Story.
And never be afraid of making money as long as you are helping others.
Indeed. And I remember now one quote that don't work only for money, work for impact and money will come up.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And just never forget how valuable you are, because you have skills, you have knowledge, and has value. So never undervalue yourself.
Thank you so much, Ali. Thank you.
Thank you.
In the effort of community, if you are not yet an Ecom Connect, I just put the link in the chat. If you want to join the community, it's free. The recording of this session will be uploaded to the community platform in case you want to rewatch or just connect with each other, or connect with Ali. She's also in there. Yeah, this was really, really great, Ali. I could feel it yesterday when we were doing our pre-chat about the session. I even messaged Christina to say like, tomorrow's session is going to be so good with Ali. Like there was, yeah. So, and it's so
Hi,
nice.
John, I see you made it.
Yes, John came in near the end. Well, near the middle, yeah.
No, thank you. Anytime. And yes, it's what you guys are doing is really good, Ecom Connect, and I salute you for what you are doing as well, because you're bringing people together. Just this community that we've been chatting to now. I would love to have an individual conversation with everybody to find out exactly what their knowledge and skills are, because I think everybody has so much to offer.
Yeah, I totally agree. So don't be shy to, reach out, connect, follow up after the session. And yeah, I think we'll tie it up there if there's no other questions or comments. No, we're okay in the chat. Well, Ali, thank you so much. This was wonderful.
Thank you.
And we are excited to see you all in the community and on our next events. So have a really
Thank you very much. Good night from South Africa, everybody, and have a good evening.
Bye.
Thank you, Ali.
Yes. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.